Church reform. Len Swidler was my PhD advisor. The focus of my work was in church reform and post-Vatican II rethinking and enactment of a new relationship with the Jewish people. As a follower of Yeshua, Len is a Catholic who refused to allow his critical reading of the church, its policies and hierarchy, to drive him out of that church community. He included me, a young Jewish student from Israel, in the summer of 1980, the youngest and newest of the graduate students, and challenged me to join his Jewish Christian tour of 15 theological faculties and universities across Germany, with 5 of the Tudor Temple University Department of Religion faculty and dozen of other graduate students, Nancy Kramer, Ellen Cherry, and others among them here. I told him I was watching church reform in action, but the one condition is that we visit at least one concentration camp as a group. And with his agreement, a long and obviously fruitful collaboration and friendship was ignited. Throughout these years, Len invited me to participate on condition that I am a true, authentic voice as critic and commentator from a Jewish perspective on many difficult moments in church life, such as the 2000 Passion Play in Oberammergau. From Aachen, Hans Hermann Hendricks's congratulatory letter to you speaks of partnership and reminds us all, Len, it was your personal initiative that created a new openness of the people of Oberammergau to accept that challenge. It was your transatlantic bridge building that brought a positive new development in self-criticism. 25 years after Len invited me to Germany, I returned the favor. It was my turn to invite him to Germany to behold the first rabbis to be ordained in Germany since the Holocaust, and to visit small Catholic villages in the Rhineland who are finally coming to terms with their past, holding the first interfaith service ever held in a 700-year-old cathedral, and Len was proudly representing the American Catholic voice. I invite 2 friends from the Church Reform to speak today.
I'm Gerard Sloyan. I joined the Temple University faculty in the autumn of 1967, along with Patrick Burke, who is here. Leonard had joined that faculty 1 year before, as had John Raines, who is here. I got a phone call late at night from the Union Station. Patrick, who had been a teacher along with me at the Catholic University of America, said, I've just been offered a job at Temple University, and they're looking for another Catholic. That's how I got here. When I came, I didn't know but 2 other people in Philadelphia and only 1 other person at Temple University, which was Leonard himself. Well, like a little 5 or 6-year-old coming home crying from real school the first day, I don't know any of the kids. I didn't know a soul, but Len was my mentor. Let me tell you one thing about him. At a certain point, I think it was winter, spring of 79-80, he volunteered to teach the German language to anybody who wanted to accompany him on that tour that Razel spoke of. We met one afternoon a week all through the year. We were 4 professors and 13 graduate students. Paul Van Buren didn't need to learn German. He had studied in Basel. Zalman Schachter was a native Yiddish speaker. They don't need to learn German. But I went. I had reviewed a couple of books in German, but I've never tried to speak the language to anybody. Anyway, off we went. 17 of us, 4 professors, 3 students, and 4 of them are here. Is Franklin Littell here this afternoon? No. In any case, Leonard was equipped with so many hundreds of dollars for whatever lay ahead in the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, the DDR, and I was standing next to him at the border, and he was asked, "Have you any U.S. currency?" And he said, this outstanding Catholic layman lying in his teeth, he said, no, hundreds, because we didn't know what was coming next. Many adventures. We went to a number of academien under Catholic or Protestant patronage. They're like adult study centers, but he knew beforehand in each of them they were in relation to the Jews of that city who had survived the Holocaust. And we had many moving adventures. We went to every Jewish cemetery we could be told of, and often on the tombstones it would give the date the last time they were seen. The death date wasn't known when they went off to a death camp. And then I was especially interested, tombstones of any one man or woman with the family name Kohen, which means priest in the Hebrew language, two upraised palms, the priestly blessing from the book of Numbers. You know, you remember that, Nancy. One last thing. We got to spend an evening in a Protestant seminary, Evangelische Kirche Deutschlands, fifth floor, a brownstone, and we were not the whole crowd, but maybe 5 or 6 of us, and we looked forward to the discussion. The exchange was so totally bland, we wondered why we were invited there that night. And the next morning, our host, a minister of the gospel, said there was one person there we didn't know. The Stasi and all that. Leonard, I've done some very interesting things in your company. Thank you for it.
I'm sorry, I'm always avoiding microphones. Leonard, I want to thank you, for being a beacon of light in the spirit of Teilhard, a prophet, not of doom, but of hope. For much of your life, you worked on demonstrating that the Catholic Church can and should be a democracy. For decades, you collaborated with others, such as Rabbi Klinitsky, Jerry Sloyan, who just spoke, and Otto Huber, to disinfect the Oberammergau Passion Place, scraping away the toxic mold of centuries of pious Bavarian anti-Semitism. But most especially, I thank you for being among the first academics of your generation to see the potential of the internet, for making connections between people, for setting up the Vatican II and G-Ethics listserv lists, without which you and I would never have met. So again, thank you for being you, a Mensch.
And in what Ingrid did not say, was that they just came back from Washington, D.C., just now from another meeting of the Association of the Rights of Catholics in the Church. And I'm hoping that you're giving them a lot of work. We're coming on to the section on feminism. Respect, equality, equity, living with and learning from his beloved Arlene, raising 2 talented and accomplished daughters, and now his glowing relationship with Willie, his granddaughter. He also has a support staff of Dr. Sheets Willard and myself. Len has always admired and valued women as persons. Standing alongside the women working so hard to make significant and lasting changes in his own church, he realized that the greatest obstacle for almost all religious traditions is their treatment of women in the name of religion. As Len followed his role model, Yeshua, when he thought deeply, what was Jesus to do? And what would Jesus do, excuse me? And in 1971, almost 40 years ago, he concluded that Jesus was probably a feminist. No, was a feminist. Let us first hear from the raised voices of the women, tribe 1, and then we'll hear from the women.